All right, so imagine this. You're driving down this like totally deserted highway. It's late, super dark, just your headlights cutting through the darkness. And you start to get this feeling like you're not alone. Well, today we're diving deep into those creepy roadside encounters, especially the ones that haunt the highways of Spain. We've got firsthand stories, expert opinions, even some historical stuff to unpack. So, like, are these just spooky stories or is there something more to them?
Well, what's really interesting is how these stories, even though they're from Spain,
Yeah.
are kind of like, well, they have parallels all over the world.
You're thinking of La Chica de la Curva?
The girl in the curve. There's this one story, super creepy, from a Spanish radio show back in the 80s.
Oh, wow, okay.
This couple, driving home late at night, they pick up a hitchhiker.
Mm-hmm.
And she warns them about this curve up ahead. Says it's really dangerous. That's where she died, actually.
Oh, no.
And then she just vanishes. Gone.
Okay, see, that's just classic, right? That's like every scary roadside story ever.
Yeah.
But it's not just a Spanish thing, is it? I mean, vanishing hitchhikers, those stories are everywhere.
Yeah, totally. You've got the Malaysian Langsuer, this beautiful woman,
Yeah.
but she's out for revenge, and her fingernails. Crazy long.
Oh, I heard of her, yeah.
And then there's Pele,
In Hawaii.
a goddess, they say. But she appears as a young woman asking for a ride. Or, how about this in South Africa? There's Maria Charlotte Rue, died in a car accident back in '68.
Oh, wow.
And now her ghost, right? It haunts that same stretch of road. People say she accepts rides, but then disappears.
So is it all just like coincidence? Or are these stories, these figures on the road, are they tapping into something deeper?
That's the big question, right? Why are these stories so universal?
And why always the open road? What is it about driving at night that gets to people? Is it the isolation?
Yep.
Feeling vulnerable, maybe?
Could be. Definitely something to think about.
And it's not always hitchhikers either. Our research, I mean, there are all sorts of figures haunting Spanish highways, like apparitions, shadows, even people seeing their dead loved ones.
Yeah, there was one story. This truck driver, he said he saw his grandmother's face staring at him
Whoa.
right in the rearview mirror.
Okay, I would freak out. Was she trying to warn him about something, or?
Maybe, because right after that, he almost got into a really bad accident. Like, just missed it.
Wow, that's a close one. Maybe grandma's looking out for him, who knows? But what about those encounters that aren't so, friendly, the ones that just leave you feeling really uneasy?
Well, take this one, for example. A taxi driver in Spain. He's driving along, and all of a sudden, he has to swerve to avoid hitting this woman. She just appears in the road.
Oh, geez. Did he hit her?
No, that's the thing. He didn't hit her. But then, like, seconds later, another car almost hits him. Same spot. But the woman? Gone.
Like she was never even there? Okay, yeah, that's creepy. It gets worse though, right? Here's another story. This one's rough. This figure, tall, dressed in black, but its face, it's like a skull. And get this, minutes later, horrible truck accident. Same exact spot.
And you see that a lot with these stories. It's like the place itself is part of it.
Yeah, totally. It's never random, is it? Always these specific stretches of road, dangerous curves, places with a history of accidents, or just bad vibes,
Exactly. And those haunted highways, those are what we're going to look at next.
Because if these stories are more than just stories, then maybe figuring out the where can help us understand the why, and maybe even the who or what is behind it all.
It's wild, right? These spooky encounters, and they often have that premonition thing going on, all clustered around these specific places. Like the landscape itself is in on it.
It's true. And when you look at where these encounters happen in Spain, a few places really stand out. Like the Curva del Garraf down by Barcelona. It's this winding coastal road, and it's got this, well, a pretty grim history of accidents. And now it's practically famous for these creepy stories. Right. Our research turned up a ton of stories from that area. Drivers seeing shadowy figures, weird lights, even those ghostly hitchhikers, all on that same stretch of road.
And it's not the only one. There's the Curva de la Pólvora up in Guipúzcoa.
Which, by the way, translates to gunpowder curve.
Yeah, exactly. Like right off the bat, it tells you there's some danger there, some kind of dark history.
Totally. Just the name itself is creepy.
And the stories from that area are just as unsettling. Lots of reports of apparitions, near misses, the same stuff.
It makes you wonder, right? Like maybe those places with those names steeped in all that history, maybe they become like focal points for all the anxiety and fear people have about driving, especially at night.
Oh, for sure. Our minds love to fill in the blanks.
Big time. And when it's dark and you're alone on the road, those blanks can get pretty terrifying.
But is it always our minds playing tricks, though?
That's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, some people might just say it's hallucinations or people being tired, but a lot of these stories are from experienced drivers, people who know those roads.
That's true. And then what about those cases where it's not just one person, it's like a bunch of people see the same thing? Can you really explain that away as just imagination?
That's where it gets really interesting. I mean, shared hallucinations exist, but they're not that common. And it's way harder to explain when everyone is seeing the same specific thing, you know? So we've got a lot of possibilities here. There's the whole psychology angle, our fears, anxieties, even just the power of suggestion. But then there's the fact that these things always seem to happen in these specific locations, and those places have these histories that seem to, like, fuel these encounters.
It's true. And you can't forget about the effect these encounters have on people. Whether they believe in ghosts or not, they're genuinely terrified, confused. They feel uneasy long after it's over. These experiences are real.
Right. And some people try to write these stories off as folklore or whatever, but there are just so many, and they share so many details across different cultures, different time periods.
Goes back to the big question then. What do these stories tell us about ourselves? Are they just warnings about the dangers of the road?
Or is it something more? Are we talking about glimpses of the afterlife? Messages from not somewhere else?
Maybe they're about how, we're all going to die someday. How life and the road can be unpredictable. That we don't know what's going to happen next.
Okay, now we're getting philosophical, but I get what you're saying. When you're out there on the road all alone, it makes you think about those big questions, for sure.
And maybe, just maybe, these encounters, however we explain them, they give us a little peek into that huge, mysterious space that's beyond what we usually experience.
It's like those stories are saying, hey, the world's a lot stranger than you think.
And that those really scary, really amazing journeys, they don't happen out on the highway. They happen inside us, like we're exploring our own minds and all the mysteries there.
So, what now? Do we start watching our backs every time we drive down a dark road? You know, it's weird. These stories, they're creepy, yeah, but there's also this, like, I don't know, this sense of wonder to them. Like, maybe there's more to things than we realize.
I know what you mean. It's like they're pushing us to think outside the box, to
Yeah.
be open to the possibility that we don't have all the answers.
Exactly. It's like that feeling when you're driving at night and you see something out of the corner of your eye, your heart's racing, and you're like, what was that? Was it real or was it just...
Your mind messing with you.
Yeah. But these stories, they take it to a whole other level.
They tap into that fear of the unknown. It's primal,
Yeah.
Makes us question everything, what we believe, what we think we know.
And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's those mysteries, those things we can't explain that keep us, I don't know, keep us going, keep us curious.
Totally. It's like those moments of uncertainty, those glimpses of something beyond ourselves. That's what makes it all worth it. The journey, I mean. Life, even.
So what are we supposed to do with all this? Should we be looking over our shoulders every time we get behind the wheel?
A little caution never hurt anyone.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about approaching these stories and our own experiences
Yeah.
with an open mind, but also like a healthy dose of skepticism too.
Because whether they're real ghosts or figments of our imaginations or something in between, they all come back to this very human need to make sense of the world, right? To find meaning in the mystery. So next time you're driving down a dark road, sure, keep your eyes on the road, but don't be afraid to. I don't know, let your mind wander a little. You never know what you might discover. And if you've got a story of your own, something strange that happened to you on the open road, we want to hear it. Because every story adds something new to the mix. Drive safe out there, and until next time, keep exploring.